In addition to the Sussex Emergency Response and Recovery document, there are a number of plans that support responders respond to emergencies. These plans are produced to meet the requirements detailed in the risk assessments and are reviewed as required by multi-agency review groups. Whilst the plans are outlined during the next few minutes, it is essential that you apprise yourself with these plans. All are available to members of responder organisations via your usual emergency management or planning contacts, or via the Sussex Resilience Forum planning pages on Resilience Direct. The Recovery Plan sets out the recovery structure which Sussex Resilience Forum members and other organisations would use to coordinate their efforts to help affected communities to recover and establish a new normality following a major incident in Sussex. The plan contains activation arrangements as well as membership lists, issues and initial priorities to be addressed by the Recovery Coordinating Group, RCG, and its subgroups. This plan will see responder organisations and others working for months and possibly years after an initial response. For more information on the Recovery Plan, you can review the Introduction to Recovery in Sussex e-learning module. The Sussex Resilience Forum Community Resilience Framework sets out the coordinated process for improving the resilience of Sussex residents and groups. The strategic aims are to work collaboratively with emergency responders and the voluntary sector to increase awareness of risks and preparedness in the local communities and businesses across Sussex, to develop and deliver a programme of community resilience and business continuity activities based on the areas of highest risk and identified community needs, to build on existing community resources and develop a This plan provides roles, responsibilities and direction to assist all multi-agency responders across Sussex in the planning and response required for a mass casualty emergency that may result in patient numbers well in excess of those used in previous planning arrangements and are beyond the normal capacity that is created by the activation of major incident plans. The Telecom Subgroup, or TSG, Resilient Communications Plan covers the interagency arrangements that enable responder organisations to communicate with each other and with local partners when normal telecommunications provision is unavailable. This also details suggested actions to enable the public to summon help should the 999 system become unavailable, as happened in Eastbourne a few years ago. The Sussex Major Maritime Emergency Plan, SMMEP, provides a generic integrated emergency management response between those emergency services and other organisations that provide a declared or additional search and rescue service to deal with major maritime incidents. The off-site plan for reservoir emergencies details where registered reservoirs are situated across Sussex, along with contact details for the undertakers or owners. The plan also details where inundation maps showing flood extent, depth and speed are located, the roles and responsibilities of responders dealing with off-site consequences. It additionally details activation arrangements, the interface with on-site planning arrangements and key warning and informing messages for the public in the event of a potential or actual breach. The training and exercising protocols are designed to ensure effective planning of exercises and training events by members of the SRF and to ensure efficient use of resources and the SRF training budget, providing and promoting low or no cost, and minimise duplication by promoting joint agency exercises and training. Additionally, to share a single agency training programmes with other members of the SRF, ensure that key learning points from exercises and training are shared, to develop a standard approach to multi-agency training. Achieve a common set of principles underpinning quality assurance and continuing professional development. To liaise with neighbouring LRFs on training and exercising opportunities and learning. The Sussex Warning and Informing Group, SWIG, of the Sussex Resilience Forum, SRF, primarily formed of communications and media representatives from responder organisations. It supports other SRF programmes and operational plans, formalising communications activity to meet the requirements of the Civil Contingencies Act, CCA. The aim of this plan is to describe a coordinated multi-agency response to pandemic influenza and enable the SRF to reduce the impact of an influenza pandemic on the population of Sussex. Objectives of the SRF Pandemic Influenza Contingency Plan are to confirm the multi-agency command and control response, confirm the roles and responsibilities of the SRF and the relevant Category 1 responders, outline the key actions for the SRF response at each phase of a pandemic, confirm the process for the SRF to provide accurate and timely situation reports through to the Cabinet Office, confirm the arrangements for timely and effective communications to the public and professional partners, outline the recovery and return to normality processes. The Science and Technical Advice Cell, or STAC, brings together technical experts operating under the strategic direction of the SCG. The SCG would agree the high-level objectives guiding the multi-agency response, including the immediate priorities. The STAC would be expected to advise on issues such as the impact on health of the population, public safety, environmental protection, and sampling and monitoring of any contaminants. The Sussex Resilience Forum Mass Fatalities Plan sets out the manner in which Sussex local authorities supporting HM coroners for East Sussex, West Sussex and Brighton and Hove provide emergency mortuary facilities in the event of a mass fatality incident. It also sets out the framework within which multi-agency partners involved in the death management process across Sussex will work to manage excess deaths arising from a flu pandemic or similar event. This Emergency Assistance Centres plan describes the types of assistance centres which may be established to provide shelter and support to people who have been affected by an emergency incident in Sussex. It also outlines the roles and responsibilities of the agencies involved. The aim of this plan is to outline and provide a framework from which vulnerable people may be identified throughout the Sussex Resilience Forum area, either following an emergency or to alert them to an impending emergency and to share that information. The objectives of this plan are to define vulnerability, set out the triggers for activating the plan and the activation process, describe the additional roles and responsibilities of organisations relating to identifying vulnerable people, in addition to those in the Sussex Emergency Response and Recovery Document, SERR. Describe how vulnerable people will be identified. Describe the coordination arrangements for providing support to the vulnerable and the link to other SRF plans. Identify the needs for training and exercising of this plan, setting out in particular need for frontline police, fire and ambulance staff to understand the plan, data sharing protocols and sensitivities. The Sussex Evacuation Plan has the following objectives. Support the Strategic Coordinating Group to respond effectively to an event that requires an evacuation of part of Sussex. Provide responding organisations with the necessary strategy to allow them to effectively implement their roles and responsibilities in support of an evacuation. Provide the process by which appropriate information is supplied to all responding agencies, the public and businesses, at the start of and throughout the evacuation process. Provide the process by which appropriate information will be distributed to the public and to businesses in advance of any evacuation to enable them to understand the concept and to plan for their own response. Provide a framework for Part 2 plans relating to specific risks or areas. The Gridlock Plan details the roles and responsibilities of all partners involved in a gridlock situation on the Strategic Road Network, SRN, and the Important Road Network, IRN, within Sussex. The plan has been developed so as to facilitate an effective and timely multi-agency response to gridlock. The aim of the Sussex Adverse Weather Response Framework is to ensure that responding organisations in Sussex have an agreed multi-agency procedure that will enable them to respond effectively to all types of adverse weather, with an agreed method of escalation for events that become more serious. The objectives of this plan are to define the structure and format of the Sussex Adverse Weather Office, provide guideline triggers for the activation of the plan, define how to activate the Sussex Adverse Weather Office, and detail the actions to be taken by responder organisations when the plan is activated. The aim of the Multi-Agency Flood Plan, Part 1, is to provide generic information on flood risk and response, so responders can work together to mitigate the effects of flooding in any location in Sussex. The objectives of this plan are to provide an overview of flood risk in Sussex as identified by the SRF Community Risk Register, support the adverse weather framework by providing more detail about when to activate the adverse weather arrangements in response to flooding, signpost site-specific flood plans and other supporting plans, procedures and best practice, outline forecasting and warning services available to responders and the public and key warning and informing messages. This plan describes the interagency arrangements for outbreaks of notifiable animal diseases, including the connections between the national and local response and how Sussex Resilience Forum partners would work together to address the wider community impacts of such an event. Describes the additional roles and responsibilities of responder organisations in Sussex. Detail the provision of designated fuel stations in Sussex. Describe how this plan will be activated. Detail the actions to be taken by responder organisations when the National Emergency Plan for Fuel, NEPF, is activated. How responder organisations would support the efforts to reduce the effects of a fuel shortage in Sussex, and support the national message as directed by Department of Energy and Climate Change. The aim of this document is to clearly set out the agreed service delivery expectations from each of the voluntary sector partners. The objectives of this document are to summarise the response and responsibilities of voluntary sector organisations, outline how the responding organisations will work collectively during an emergency, outline the support role offered by voluntary sector organisations. To find out more, please either review the other SRF e-learning modules, attend courses run as part of the SRF training programme, attend and take part in exercises run as part of your own organisation, or as part of the SRF, and undertake reading of plans and documents issued through the Resilience Forum. Thank you for watching. To test your knowledge, a quiz has been set up to allow you to test your knowledge on items in this presentation. Please follow the instructions to the test either on the web page or ask the SRF Business Management team for the link to the test. You can now close this video.